I'm George Boston Rhines on YouTube, Boston G.B.R. My website is www.georgebostonrhines.com. Also www.bostongbr.com. This morning I'm sitting in the parking lot in Valdosta, Georgia, and I started thinking about what is going on across the state of Georgia, mostly with black female elected officials that are being attacked, taken to court, some going to jail. Some of the governments are being changed once they are voted into office for no other reason than to minimize the power of blacks in office. And I was thinking this morning when I got up that what bothers me as a veteran is that very few traditional news media outlets will publish the stories in the black community. Let me explain what I'm saying. I have covered so many cities, and it is ridiculous how the white-dominated news media outlets ignore black people, even after they serve in the armed forces, as I did for 20 plus years. I don't recommend a young black man or black woman, I don't recommend them going into the armed forces until voting rights and the right to hold public office after you are elected are respected as white Americans. This is not out of hate. This is out of common sense. And the sickening thing about it is, since December the 21st, 2010, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, on vacation. And I received a call from the citizens in Quitman in Brooks County, Georgia, who said to me, "George, we need to get you down here to publish what they're doing to black people." They said that the police, the G.B.R, the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, investigators are going around to people's homes and with a gun and charging them with voter fraud, having them to fill out papers, etc., etc., etc. Being the person that I am, I contacted the late Pastor Calvin Benjamin. We walked the streets in Quitman. I interviewed the people that was not too afraid to speak. I later did videos, followed the Quitman 10+2, a group of blacks that were brought up on bogus voter fraud charges because it was the first time that blacks had a majority on the Brooks County Board of Education. And the white power brokers Those in the clique and among the slicks didn't like it, and they tried their best to change it. This is why black people must vote. When I was in the military, I didn't know who in hell to vote for, but I voted in every election. In Brooks County, when I didn't know the ballot, I voted against the incumbents because they weren't doing anything, and I knew that there was no change in Brooks County. So I walked with the Quitman 10+2, and to move along every court case, I even put my paperwork in under Rule 22 of Georgia law to record in the courthouse. They denied me a couple of times, but I followed that case, and after 4 years, they dropped all charges on those black folks there in Quitman in Brooks County, Georgia. I have more information when it comes down to the court case on video than anybody in the United States. This information that I recorded, along with Representative Tyrone Brooks, Jesse Jackson, attorney out of Atlanta, Joseph Lowry, the late Senator Robert Brown, Helen Butler out of Macon, Senator Lucas and his wife, and others came to Quitman. The state president, Edward DuBose, and they signed off on my videos. I put together a package, and we sent it to President Barack Hussein Obama and to Eric Holder, Department of Justice. I did not send it. I did the work and compiled the videos. Representative Brooks had these black leaders to sign off on my videos, and they sent them to the governor, the attorney general, and Eric Holder. I didn't send, not send. I did not publish the beef of the information that I sent to Eric Holder on my YouTube channel. In fact, some of the people that I've interviewed, some of the interviews, I have never published those interviews. We were waiting for the Department of Justice, CNN, MSNBC, and other white news media networks to pick up on what was going on against these outstanding black folk. Needless to say, President Barack Obama, Justice Department, and the news media was a waste of time in trying to show the world what black folk had to go through, not in Russia, not in China, not in Afghanistan, Tajikistan, or Iran, but right here in the state of Georgia. So as I said, after 4 years, they dropped all 100 to 200 charges against these outstanding black folk. I want you to know now, law enforcement, Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp, with his all-white state election board. In other words, there was not a single black on the election board. The jury process that tried to Quitman 10 was a disgrace when it comes down to racial balance. But God, the God of our ancestors, ensured that all of them were exonerated. But Latasha Head, let me say it again, Latasha Head, Stacey Abrams, the Honorable Stacey Abrams, the Latasha Head died before her name was cleared. She was a lupus patient. I talked and interviewed her father. And he told me that he believed that the stress and pain inflicted upon his daughter contributed to her death. This has never been published by the white stream news media because your news is not their news. February the 27th, the Honorable Stacey Abrams was the guest speaker in Quitman in Brooks County at the Brooks County Annual Freedom Fund Banquet. I counted 300 plus people. I was in the press box. And surely any human being would believe that the Quitman Free Press, ABC, CBS, and NBC would be there at that event, but they were not. I want to thank God for the Lanier newspaper, who stood for what the founding fathers established here in this country. And so that event, as far as the historic archival record for future generations, will be like it didn't even take place. When they look at the Quitman Free Press or the Valdosta Daily Times or the TV stations and try to find what happened there on February the 27th, there's no record of it. No record that it ever even took place. But I have it. I have the complete event. This is what we as black folk must understand. You got to understand that you can no longer depend on the historic record that white people publish and weigh it as the facts. History tells us that they have lied, even in the name of Jesus. So black man, black woman, and black children, don't believe what the white man says, because you don't have to, number one. And this goes especially for religion. You see, when I was brought up in Brooks County and I was taught the white man's religion, and that was the religion of Christianity. And it was a good religion. But the people who set it up and the people who say they are Christians, according to history, now not according to me, but according to the white man's history, they have lied to black people. And by lying for so long, they now believe the lie that they told. This is why I don't rely on what they publish in the newspapers today, because I'm here to say to you that when Lula Smart case with those voter fraud charges went to court, her first trial was a mistrial. Her second trial was a mistrial. Her third trial, all of them was freed. And so when that trial started, we didn't know when it was going to end. I was there on day one, and no news media. The second day, no news media. And to make a long story short, I recorded every day, and I talked about, look, no news media, no news media, no news media, no news. They don't give a damn about you. This is why, when you know better, you should do better. We didn't know yesterday. We believe that if we go in the military, show our patriotism for this nation, that white folk will treat us as equals. Black people of yesterday said that when the older head of white people die out, things would change. A lot of black people went on home to meet Jesus and God, left their children, grandchildren, and grandchildren behind here in South Georgia. But little did they know, and they were some smart people, and truly a very patient people. But what they did not know is that those white European Caucasians were teaching their children to carry on the same white supremacy doctrine that they established themselves. And it's going on until today. And they're doing a damn good job of maintaining their power and influence over black people. But a few of us was touched by the God of our ancestors. And we will not bring our children up believing that things going to get better because white folk going to make them better. You, black man and woman, must use the brain God give you. Use it for yourself. Think like God would think. Think like Jesus would think. Don't let them tell you that you're a Christian and that your job is to pay tithe in the church and sit between the four walls every Sunday. Turn around and go to Bible study on Wednesday. Prayer meeting on Friday. And bear meeting on Friday night. Let me say this to you. We had better wake up. We, as black folk, now don't get me wrong, I started reading the Bible when I was about 8 years old. I don't know how to read the Bible now. I still read it, but not like I used to. I got a heck of a memory with God gift. And I remember scriptures pretty well. But I want to say to you, don't just read the New King James Version of the Bible. Go back and get the 1611 Bible. Read it. Then Google the books that was taken from the Bible. Now, your religious leaders in your religious persuasion don't want you reading those books. They don't want you to read them. They didn't want me to read them when I was a traditional minister. I'm not even going to call the denomination of the church I was in. They don't want you to have independent thought. They want to keep you indoctrinated and incarcerated in the brain for the purpose of mind control. That's why I use the term I fell on my way to the bus station. Now, the Quitman 10 plus 2, Dr. Nancy Dennett, Dr. Diane Thomas, and the rest of those outstanding folk, they believe in God. They believe in Jesus. But they are a different type Christian. They are a different type Negro. They took their religion outside of the church. They put their religion in the street. And the sad thing about it today is that we black people do not hold our black religious leaders accountable to the community that pay their salary, buy their automobiles, and pay their mortgage payment. Now, I'm not criticizing our religious leaders, but I am speaking the truth. Most of your black preachers didn't walk with the Quitman 10 plus 2 in Brooks County in Quitman. Most of your ministers didn't attend the court case. Many of you, like Pastor Avery said, because y'all thought they were guilty. Because the white man told you they was guilty. I would leave Quitman sometime and I would hear on the 105.9 the conservatives just talk about the Quitman 10 plus 2 had bundles of absentee ballots in the trunk of their car. I just sat and I recorded those lies. Let me say it again. I recorded those lies. Now, if you don't know the difference between an absentee ballot application and it just blows my mind. Can't tell the difference between an absentee ballot, absentee application, or request or even a voter registration form and an absentee ballot. If you don't know the difference between those, and if I got those black and white voter registration forms in my trunk, which I used to have, because I used to register a lot of people right here in Valdosta, especially during Barack Obama campaign. Somebody see you with them, they think that's illegal, and it's not. But they lied. And so that's why I stood with those mistreated black folk. Now let me close. From time to time, I do videos such as this because in my heart, I grieve for these black people in 20, maybe 30 or 40 cities that I've gone to. And these mostly black women, they are suffering. And so although I'm just hitting on Quitman this morning in Brooks County, there are so many other black people that I've gone into their communities, interviewed them, fought for them, applied under the Get to Free Press Rule 22 to be in the courtroom to record what these wicked white folk was doing to honorable black people. And the white-dominated news media, if they attended, would not publish the truth. Let me say it again. They would not publish the truth. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? So if you all think that I am crazy, if you say to yourself, Rhymes, you keep talking about the same things over and over and over and over again, it is because in my heart, see, I don't talk about I'm saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, and fire baptized, and I live in the church all the time, be in Sunday school on time, and be at worship service, throw my hand in the air, say hallelujah, hallelujah, and hallelujah. I don't do that. But in my heart, I felt the pain of Latasha Head father, who believed he still would have had his daughter if Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp and his all-white board had not brought them up on bogus charges. And then when the people in Brooks County filed voter fraud complaints to counter what they said, and then when the head investigator, Glenn Archie, came into Brooks County and held a meeting that consisted of about 3 or 4 hours, he never came back to let us know what his findings were from the investigation. And I gave him 2 DVDs of interviews. And yet these white folk can stand up and tell us they are honorable Christians. Y'all better learn what a damn Christian is. See, I don't want to be a Christian. I used to. But I was taught when you know better, then do better. And so today, I see and I know what Christians do. And I don't want to be a Christian like that. If you look back down the annals of history, I do not want to enslave white folk. I do not want to relegate white folk to 3/5 of a human being. I don't want to make promises to white folk and never meet my obligation to white folk when I've passed laws that should be in their favor, such as they promised the black man 40 acres and a mule. Well, like I heard one old elderly black man say, they promised us that so long, The 40 acres is now a river. And the mule died 100 years ago. So they lied to you. And if that's what and they say they was Christians. That's why they say this a Christian nation. But you know the truth. But you don't want to speak it like I'm speaking it. But I gotta tell the truth. Because my black Jesus said to me, St. John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Not half-truths, not lies, not watered-down truth because you scared as hell to speak it, but the real truth will set you free. So I'm going to close by saying this to you. I feel the pain of all these black voters that went to vote and they put impediments in front of them from voting. Elderly people up in their 80s were so intimidated that they said they would never, ever vote again right there in Brooks County. And since December the 21st, I have met some people that I never even dreamed I would meet in this lifetime. I'm only going to deal with Quitman in Brooks County, but I met the sheriff in Telfair County, up in McRae area. I met this white sheriff who stood up before Brian P. Kemp in Macon, Georgia. I was the only camera rolling that day, and I got the whole day recorded. And it's on YouTube on the SOS Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp video. That sheriff talked about the black folks in Telfair County, the hellhole they went through, and how the Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp investigators came into his county and just ramrodded the black community, and a couple of whites as well. He told Brian P. Kemp, he told Mr. Hardin, who was on the investigative team there for the state back then, say it was the most sloppiest, unprofessional investigation that he had ever seen. And he talked about he had worked in foreign nations of the world investigating. He talked about the unqualified Secretary of State investigators. But don't take my word for it because I may be lying. See, I got it documented. But do you think Victor Blackwell of CNN care about that? Do you think Rachel Maddow care about what I have found out and published? Do you think 60 Minutes, Dateline, or Your Line? 9/11 Alive Action News out of Atlanta called me to Douglas with Olivia Coley-Pierce because they came and interviewed her. And they interviewed me as well. It was on TV. And it's on the way up now. But 11 Alive. Or Rachel Maddow. Yeah, she published a little bit about the Quitman 10+2. You got some black newspapers, progressive out of Atlanta, that came down and published a day or two about the Quitman 10. But I'm asking you as I close, and this is my closing. How many do you know of? How many do you know of that connected the dots of all these cities? So this white pattern and this white practice to suppress, control, intimidate, and place impediments before black voters. And then after the voters elect them into office, they turn around and attack them, remove them from office, carry them behind the jail, and in some cases to prison. Stacey Abrams, Stacey, I love the work you're doing, my beautiful sister, but you're not dealing with that. Stacey Abrams, I don't dislike you. I love you for the work you're doing. I commend you. I wish we had more black men doing what you were doing. But just addressing the right to vote and not addressing those who are elected as a result of the vote and are removed from office after they vote. And no news media will connect the dots and publish that to the American people so they can see that the same thing could happen in the 2020 election. That's what I don't understand. I don't understand how the Congressional Black Caucus or the Honorable NAACP President of the state of Georgia don't get on that bandwagon. Or the Democratic chairman. When the Equipment 10+2 was going through hell and low water, the Democratic chair was DuBose Porter. And he had some dealing with the Wilkinson County Post newspaper that gave former Mayor Ann Whipperlew hell on the backside of heaven. And that's why I said DuBose Porter, in my most humble and respectful opinion, was a Republican in Democratic garf. That's what I said. Because all these areas that I went to, the Democratic Party didn't even say boo. So, Stacey Abrams, you've been to Brooks County. You talked to Commissioner Olivia Coley-Pearson. But that's only 2 eggs in the nest. There's about 30 or 40 egg nests, in my most humble opinion, that you probably have not touched or connected the dots. NAACP, Congressional Black Caucus, and others. President Barack Obama, if you're really going to support the Democratic Party, have you considered, Mr. President, former President, maybe you and Michelle can come down to Brooks County and let them talk to you about the hellhole they had to live in for 4 years, face federal charges and almost 1,000 years in prison if they would have been found guilty. President Barack Obama, you can go in Madison and talk to, can't think of her name now, but go over there and talk to them. I got the name. You'll see them if you go to my channel. The Madison, Florida 9. Go to Meigs, Georgia, above Quitman in Thomas County, President, and see what they did to that girl. Leave there, go over to Camilla Rufus Davis. From there to, and I'm not getting into that, but it's all been documented. And I'm in pain, y'all. I'm really in pain. What pains me is that, for the most part, without exception, every community that I went to, do you know that the black people didn't give a banana to the cause of those suffering black folk? A lot of those people own relatives didn't even support them. And they laughed at me. Many of them laughed at your little brother. They said that you waste your gas to go talk and stand up for these black folk who don't even give you gas money. You must be a crazy Negro. But you see, I'm not a smart man. In truth, I'm ignorant and unlearned. But my grandma taught me something. Though you may be ignorant, you're not a fool. And so I later examined what my grandmother said. If I'm ignorant and unlearned, but if the Spirit of the living God is within me, something may come forth from these ignorant lips that will impregnate the borders of your mind, that will give you a new mind. And Apostle Paul said, under the new covenant, and ye shall be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this is what many of us need today. We need the truth so we can have a change of mind. So y'all have a nice day. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. And if you ever have access to any news media outlet, or if you share these videos, put in the comments section, where is CNN? Where is ABC? Where is 60 Minutes, 48 Hours, Dateline, Yo Line, BBC? Ask them if George Boston Rhymes and the Get To Free Press can go into these cities and connect the dots, go to the meetings, go into the courtrooms, all the way up to the Georgia Court of Appeals with Mayor Ann Whoopaloo. They tried to take her and get her. Man, they tried to send her to prison bad, man. Thank God for Wayne Kendall, attorney out of Atlanta. I can't count the times we went up there to his office. But see, y'all don't know nothing about that. Yes, sir. You don't know nothing about in guarding the $1.5 million that the finance chair said needed to be investigated. You don't know nothing about Nichols, Georgia, that didn't even have a required annual audit in the last 10 or 15 years. How can a city go without a yearly audit? And your news media, they could care less about it. And in Meigs, Georgia, that was about the money too. In Lumpkin, Georgia, that was about the money. Douglas, Georgia, and Coffee, that is about the money. Warrenton, Georgia, with Mayor George Ivey, that was about the money. You know that? But who cares? The damn TV station don't care. And that's taxpayers' money. And so when these cities talk about we can't afford this and we can't afford it, because people are taking the money. And when black folk are elected to office and they want to know where the money, and they try to get a forensic audit to account for the money, then these white folk, along with a few Uncle Toms and Aunt Janes, line themselves up with these wicked white folk and seek to move them from office. They even change the type government when a black person is elected to that office. They'll change it from a strong mayoral type government to a strong city manager type government. Now ask me, how do I know? And I have it documented. But the news media don't care about that. In years past, at least them old white folk would ask you to do a press conference or do an interview with them, and they would publish it. But those days are long gone. It seemed like the news media are a part of the clique and among the slicks that keeps you deaf, dumb, and blind to the times, and unable to make intelligent decisions based on facts. And you know, God have blessed me, or the devil cursed me. I don't know which one it is. But you know, I have white folk who confide in me. I really do. And I want to thank the good white folk who respect me and they love the work that I'm doing. I want to commend you. This is why, y'all, if you hate on white folk, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I don't mind telling the truth, because the more truth I tell, the more freer I become. And the freer I become, the more truth God gives me, backed up by the power of his might to tell it without punking out under pressure. If you're a black man, and if you can't speak the truth because of fear, I don't care how much you shout. I don't care how good a sermon you can preach. You are not a follower of the real Jesus, nor the real God. Because Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free." And Jesus also said, "A house divided against itself would not stand." So if you are about truth, but you divide it and will not stand with truth and own truth, then you are a hypocrite. I will say again, blessed are they that die in the name of the Lord, for they shall rest from their labor. Now, if I don't close on this note, next time I get on, I want y'all to say, "There's the liar." I'm going to say it again. If I don't get off and close this out on this note, you can call me a liar next time I come on, and don't quit when I say I am. Dr. King didn't have no friends for the most part. Dr. King was just like Jesus. The Lord was his shepherd, and he feared not. And Dr. King, see, I understand it because God put me out here to understand it. By my suffering. Here's what he said. I'm going to close. Dr. King said, "Ralph Abernathy is the best friend that I have in the world." Y'all heard him say that. I'm going to say it again, then I'm going to close. Ralph Abernathy is the best friend I have in the world. I couldn't say what I'm about to say if I hadn't been out here and doing what I do. Dr. King was letting you know that Ralph Abernathy was not his friend, but he was the best friend that he had. But he didn't have no real friends. When you walk down the road of truth, according to Isaiah 35:8, this is a lonely road, man. It's a real lonely road. Jesus talked about it. And when Dr. King died, what did Ralph Abernathy do? What did he do? If you don't know, Google it. Google what Ralph Abernathy did to Dr. King image. Tried to destroy every aspect of his good works. This is not hate. It is the truth. See, I done read the book by Random House called A Testament of Hope. You ought to read it. I got the whole interview between Playboy and Dr. King. Y'all have a nice day. May God bless you. I say again, Ralph Abernathy was the best friend that Dr. King had because he didn't have no friends. Are you my friend? Are you my friend? Jesus said there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. But most of us on this highway of holiness, according to Isaiah 35:8, we don't have no friends. They won't even give you a dime or a glass of water. That's why Jesus said, if you give a righteous man a glass of water, he would remember that. Bye-bye. I talk like this because I love you just that much. Tribute to an unknown soldier, the author of eternity, in an allegorical setting. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action, at the risk of his own life, above and beyond the normal call of duty, somewhere in the Middle East, near a place called Calvary, a soldier stepped out on the battlefield of time, traveling from time into eternity, fighting with the sword called justice. And his birth and surgeons were sent out